Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alicia and today we're going to be talking about something that I realized I never talked about before, or at least I don't remember talking about. And this was brought to my attention from Michelle, so thank you. Let's just go ahead and just get right into this. So what we're talking about today is how I set up my accounts, how I kind of did like the back end process to start utilizing the system that I have today. Okay, so to begin, let's talk about how I first started budgeting. This is going to be a very chatty video. I feel like a lot of my videos have been very chatty lately. When I first started budgeting, we've always had a savings account, we've always had a checking account, and before in the past, we would have 2 checking accounts and 1 savings account. So essentially, we have our primary checking, which we have now, our secondary checking account that we have, and our 1 savings account. This savings didn't exist in the past, which is our long-term savings that is at a different institution. We have 2 checking accounts and 1 savings at the same institution. And how we used to budget is every time we got paid, all of the funds would go into our primary account. Then we'd only transfer just enough to pay for bills, and that money would be in here to make it easy. For example, for our bills, let's say per month it was $2,000. So every paycheck, we would transfer $500 into our second account. So all of the money would be in here for the following month. We've always been like month ahead budgeters, which means all of the income that will come in for the month would be for the following month. So right now we are in May. All of the paychecks that come in for May, the funds would be for June. And I talk about this more explicitly in my budget with me videos, but just to say, for example, when we first started this system, we had like tax returns and we also took out money from our savings. Let's say bills for the entirety was $2,000. We took out $2,000 from our savings or tax returns, whatever it was. I'm pretty sure it was a mixture of tax returns and savings when we did this, but we took out $2,000 and we had a flat amount of $2,000 in our second checking account, which was for bills. When we first started budgeting, it was only for bills. So once we had that $2,000 in there, we started it where every single paycheck, we put $500 in here, $500 in here. So as bills come out, we just kept kind of putting $500 in there because we knew for a fact that every month our bills was $2,000. So that's kind of how we were a month ahead and how we didn't really do much math at all. That's like the simplest way of how we budgeted, but unfortunately for us, the rest of our paycheck went to the abyss because we didn't budget. Now how our system is, we still have that same process of having a checking account, a primary checking account, and a secondary checking account. But of course, the first step is to definitely calculate how much your expenses are in here. Right now, currently, how we have it is our second checking account. We have our daily expenses. Erica gave me another name for this, which I love because monthly budget can be very confusing. But our daily expenses, which is our eating out, groceries, gas allowance, pups, and baby. Our bills, which is all of our variable and fixed bills. Our sinking funds categories, which is like broken down into all of these subcategories. And that's how we like it. I mentioned this before where I used to want to have 3 additional checking accounts, 1 for our daily expenses, 1 for our bills, 1 for our sinking funds, but I just lumped it all together. So now what you guys see is every single month we put $5,200 in here because that is our monthly budget. For May, all of our income that comes in for May, which is 4 paychecks, we put $1,300 per paycheck. This is all of our income for June. So the 1st of June, we already have all of the money ready to go. I don't really have to like play the game of like, is our paycheck gonna come in time for this bill or that bill? Because that's just gonna really confused me especially because most of our bills come out at the beginning of the month. But yeah, so once you have this second checking account set up for what numbers, you just need the number first for how much you need in here. And then of course you can take it out of your savings or wherever, or if you already have the funds in there, fantastic. That's what we did first. The second thing that we did was You definitely don't have to do this. It's just what we liked to do because we were trying to get the most out of our money, because we pay with everything with our credit card. If you don't use credit card, you can just completely skip this step because everything will automatically come out of this account, since this is the account you'll want to hook up to all of your bills. But for us, we try to call around to every single institution that we have bills for and see if they charge any type of fee or penalty for hooking up a credit card. A lot of them did, like they charged like $30 or a 3% fee or whatever it is, and to that's not worth it because our rewards is only 2%. So we'll be paying more money to be using a credit card. So we only have some hooked up that don't charge any fee, so we can get 2% cash back every single month. So that is the next thing that we did, and that's why we have some bills coming out of our checking account directly and some come out of our credit card. But to simplify it, you can definitely just skip that and just have everything come out of this account, and you don't really have to do what we do every month, which is like figure out what went where. Of course, after that, if you have sinking funds, they'll be here. If not, you can definitely start sinking funds, and then this will slowly start accumulating. And then for your daily expenses, which is what we have, is $1,000 that we add in here per month. Right now, talking about these accounts, it definitely probably makes absolutely no sense unless you guys are familiar with the way that we budget. It's easier to kind of get the idea of it, but I'm hoping that this will at least help for those of you who did have a question about how we set this up. But anyway, so after that, this checking account is basically completed. It's just every month we add the $5,200 in here, because every month we break this down into what goes where. So we have that funds in here, and an Enly weekly check-in video, like for May, week 1 and week 2 weekly check-in video. If you guys are curious about this, it definitely goes through it step by step. I'm pretty sure. If not, there's a lot of other weekly check-in videos as well. Now for our primary checking account. This primary checking account we have hooked up to our credit card, and we also have hooked up to our long-term savings at a different institution. So our long-term savings is with Ally. So these are external banks, and we had to hook them up together in order to transfer to and from. So that's one account that we hooked up, was our external bank account. The other account that we hooked up to this first checking account is our credit card. We used to have multiple credit cards, but now we only have one. But this is the account, if you have multiple as well, I would hook up this account. This is the account I use to feed all of my external accounts to make payments or to transfer for savings. This is kind of like my outgoing account, where like if you could see like, you know, on the map, like little planes flying out of here, this is that account that I have everything hooked up to. Because since these two checkings and savings is all in one institution, I don't have anything else hooked up to any of these other accounts. The only one that is hooked to outside sources is this very first checking account. Sorry, that's a lie. So the only other one that I have hooked up to outside sources is this second checking account, because this second checking account I actually have hooked up to all the bills that are not hooked up to the credit card. The reason why is because I know that the money is in here, so I can just check this account to see what got taken out, versus this account, since the funds fluctuate all the time. Let's say I paid off our credit card and I also did some transfers to our savings and there's like barely anything in here, then it's not going to make sense for bills to come out of here because there's no funds in there. So I have all the bills hooked up to come out of our second checking account, since this is where all of our bills, the bill money is held. But yeah, I just wanted to pop on here and just explain that part. The main reason why I have it like that is because I used to have it where when I tried to budget this account prior to like actually having like a full-on budget, I'd always forget that I'd made a payment to a credit card, or I made a transfer somewhere, or we used to write checks. We don't anymore, but if we wrote a check or something, it still hasn't came out yet. There's been so many times where I accidentally thought we had additional funds when we didn't, because whatever institution it was still didn't take the money out, and that would mess up our budget because I would have thought that we had like a few $100s more when we didn't. That's why we set it up to this different system where this only houses the outgoing funds and this one houses all of our day-to-day expenses or bills, our sinking funds. Like, it's just so much easier for me to know exactly how much money we have that is ours for these two accounts, the real numbers, and of course our savings, our long-term savings. And then this one, this account, the funds in here are kind of like up in the air because they need to, it's owed to something, whether I had to transfer it to savings or I already made a credit card payment, or I need to make a credit card payment. Like, the money is just in here for those different things. So that's what these two checking accounts are like. Then we have our short-term savings. For this short-term savings, I don't have hooked up to anything at all. Of course, like, they're hooked internally because it's the same institution. But when me and Dustin get paid, we both have our separate checking accounts because we like being able to surprise each other or purchase things for each other without the other person knowing what the cost was. We have that. So whenever me and him get paid, we both transfer a set amount. So our budget, since it's $5,200, we both transfer $1,300 for both of us. So every time we get paid, one of us transfers, the other one transfers. So every single time we get paid, it comes into here. And by the end of the month, we'll have the full $5,200 that we would then transfer over to our second checking, since this is what we fund our budget for the whole entire month. And then this goes and restarts again. If you guys have watched my videos, I always update this with you guys and talk to you guys about when money comes in, when I'm transferring it out, so you guys are able to see the numbers. Preferably, I would love to show you guys my bank accounts and stuff, but it's too scary for me to show that much information on the internet. So I much prefer to be like, have the anonymity. Is it anonymity? I'll have to Google that because I'm using my phone to film, so I can't anonymously. But okay, you know what, let's just move on. You guys get my drift. So yeah, so this is why I have this overview, so you guys can still kind of see stuff and get the idea of everything without knowing my bank account information. But yes, that is the short-term savings in a wrap. It's very, very brief. And then we have our long-term savings. Our long-term savings is the one that I try to pretend doesn't exist, so I never get tempted to touch it. But when I do go to like take a peek at it, I can feel proud. I always say that for our long-term savings, when we start savings, it's much easier for us to have it out of sight, out of mind. I feel like for us at least, it's like less pressure. Like, I don't know, ever since we moved it out of our view, it's just, not gonna lie, at the very beginning, I did have anxiety about it because I was like, what if something happens? What if it disappears and I don't know about it? But I love the fact that we switched it out because it's just been really nice to have it on the side. It's collecting interest as well, since it is a high interested account, but this is just for our savings. There's nothing really special about this. If you guys have seen my savings trackers videos, I do have it set up where I also have a breakdown for my long-term savings. You guys probably noticed by now that I love breaking down all of my categories. Everything's broken down, but that's just how I like it. I like to know where everything is going. I've never been so in tune with our budget since this system. Yeah, so I'm very, very happy to be able to share it with you guys. I know it's like kind of extra at the same time, but it's just what works for us and what I'm really happy about. I believe I mentioned in a previous video that I will eventually be trying to show you guys a simplified budgeting method in case this is just way too much, but that is like down the line after I try a hybrid system first. But let me see, am I missing anything? I think the most confusing part is definitely figuring out the numbers, because this like has to be like with a whole breakdown. It depends on your budget, all of that fun stuff. that is a very chatty video. That is actually going to be it for this video. Let me know if you guys have any questions, as always, in the comments. Like, I will definitely respond to you guys as soon as I can. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Nonetheless, I hope it was helpful in some way. Hopefully I'll see you guys in my next video. And hopefully I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye!